Do you have customer reviews and you want to know if customers are happy or angry or neutral? In this video, we are going to build a sentiment analysis app that will help you to understand what are the customer sentiments. We will be using Python for programming and Streamlit for web application and Hugging Face for AI brain. First of all, let's look how the app looks like. And then we will start coding line by line and we'll explain in detail all the components of coding plus application, and we will deploy that into web application and possibly in the Hugging Face as well. Let's dive in. By the end of this video, our application will look something like this. AI sentiment analyzer and some welcome message here, and we have analyzed a single sentiment and analyze the entire data set. We have multiple options. For example, if you want to understand the sentiment of a specific sentence, you can type in the message, this service was amazing and I like the service a lot. And if you click on the analyze sentiment, it says sentiment was positive with 98% confidence. So if I change the sentence a little bit and see what happens here. So the service was amazing, but the personnel was not that polite. So I would enter that and I would analyze the sentiment. It is still positive because the service was amazing, but the personnel was not polite. That's why the confidence went down from 98% to 51%. And I would say service was not good and the personnel was not that polite too. So I will add multiple negative statements and click on analyze sentiment. Look at that. The sentiment is negative with 94% confidence because there are many negative words. Like this, it will be able to analyze the sentiment for larger amount of data set as well, based on how big the file you upload. By clicking there, you will be able to upload the data set and analyze the sentiment. So in this video, we will be building this application which will dynamically be able to analyze sentiment for single sentence or for an entire file. So let's dive into the code and let's see how to build the sentiment analysis application line by line. To begin with, I have opened my VS Code where I have created a folder and I have opened that folder here. So this is the empty folder I have created over here that says customer sentiment. Whatever you want, create into your desktop or any other folder. Just create a customer sentiment folder and open that folder in your VS Code. You can simply go to your file and open folder and click on the customer sentiment and click open. This will open. That's simple. The next step we are going to do here is open the terminal and install all necessary modules and libraries and check Python environment. So I will quickly check if Python is available in my terminal. So it is available. I'm ready to build a Python code here. Then next thing I want to do is create a customer sentiment virtual environment. I would go one folder back and there I will say Python 3-m virtual env and give the exact same name as your folder, customer sentiment. I would simply say customer sentiment and hit enter. Now your virtual environment is created. Bin, lib, git ignore, cachedir, and then py-venv, all of those files, necessary required files, are created. Now you can go back to your customer sentiment folder and you are now at the customer sentiment folder. Then you simply need to activate your virtual environment. To do that, you simply have to say source bin/activate. Hit enter. Now your virtual environment is activated and you will need to install all necessary modules and libraries within your virtual environment. And that includes the modules such as Streamlit, Pandas, Transformer, and PyTorch or Torch. So to do that, I will say pip install Streamlit, and I need Pandas library to load the data, and Transformers, and I need Torch, the PyTorch deep learning framework. I will hit enter and all of these libraries will be installed into my virtual environment itself because I have activated the virtual environment, and all of those will be installed into my virtual environment called customer sentiment.
Once it is installed, all you have to do is start coding into your Python file. Now all of my libraries and modules are already installed. So what I will do is I will save all of those libraries and modules with the versions into my requirement file by simply saying pip freeze and simply say requirements.txt. So you have to show greater than sign and requirements.txt. If you do that, there will be a file created which has all the modules and libraries required for this project. So next step is going to be to create a file, the Python file, where you will be writing your Python code. I will say sentiment analysis.py, the Python file where your application will live, all the code will live here. Then the next thing I would do here is import all necessary modules and libraries. Import all necessary modules and libraries. That will include Streamlit. So we are going to build a Streamlit app. I will say import Streamlit as st. Then the next one I'm going to import is import pandas as pd, because we want to organize the data if somebody is uploading the mass file, which we need to analyze and create the sentiment. Next thing we want to import here is from transformers. We'll import pipeline so that we can pipeline all the steps into a transformer pipeline. That is all necessary modules and libraries, and we have already written the code to import them. Next thing is going to be page configuration for Streamlit app, and that will be st. So Streamlit we have already imported, and then we'll say set page config, and inside that set page config we'll give the page title to be something like sentiment analysis AI, or we'll say tool based on AI, or just whatever you want to name your page. And you can say layout to be wide layout, so that there is the app is not so much narrowed like a mobile phone interface. Or if you want to do that, you can always leave that as a default. Then the next is going to be the give the title to the application. So we can say title and description of the application. Here you can say st.title. So Streamlit has the function called title that will title your application. I will say AI sentiment analysis application. All right, so that's my application title, and I would give st.write. That will be just below the title. I want the text to be displaying, just giving a greeting message saying that, hey, welcome to the application. So I will simply paste it over here from my notes that says welcome to the sentiment analysis AI. I'm going to close this screen here. Sentiment analysis AI. This app uses the large language model to detect the sentiment of the customer reviews. So this double star is for to make the text to be bold. All right, so the next thing we want to do is load the model, and we want to cache it for performance enhancement. So storing the performance, or storing the model, caching the model so that it performs really well. To do that, we will be using the st.cache resource. So cache underscore resource that will store all the cache information within the application. So I will say @st.cache resource, and then I will define a function that is called def load sentiment model. So basically what I'm doing here is I am loading the model, the large language model. So if you remember, we had imported the pipeline from transformer. That's what we're gonna import. So we will be using the distill BERT model. That's going to be our model, which doesn't even require the token or API key to be used with this one. And we'll call model equals, we'll call pipeline from the transformer, and we'll put the purpose of the model. We'll say text classification, and model equals, then we'll give the model name lxyuan, and I'll type that out, and that is distill BERT model, base, the base model, multilingual, so you can ask question into any different language as well. And I will say cased, that's a model name, and here sentiments student. So basically it can be used by the students for academic purpose, and this is very simple and very small size of the model. And at the end I will return the model. Okay, that's just simply loading the model. The immediate next thing I want to do here is load the model and show the spinner while somebody is has entered the question, and then model is generating the response. Meanwhile, it shows the spinning circle to be displayed there. So I would say load the model and show the spinner while sentiment is being generated. Okay, so here with I will say with st.spinner, and I will say while that spinning is happening, so I will say loading AI model, because that's how it will be, the action will happening. I would say please wait for a couple of seconds, please wait. That's just a message that so that people will know that something is happening there. And then I will say sentiment pipeline equals load sentiment model, and there's no parameter to be passed, just load the model. That's it. And now I will design the main interface of the model or application. Now to do that, we'll create two tabs. Tab 1 is going to be for a single sentiment. Tab 2 is going to be for the another sentiment, or the sentiment for the larger set of data. I would say st.tabs function that will create two tabs, and one is going to be for analyzing the text, and the second one is going to be analyzing the entire CSV data set, so that it doesn't have any formatting or any issues will be avoided on the CSV format. Now we have created the tabs. Here we'll then configure the tab. First of all, let's work with the tab 1. The first tab is going to be, we'll say with tab 1 that we have created over here. With tab 1, I will say st.header and analyze the single review, just one review, nothing more than that. And we'll say user input here, because we will be asking for a review text from the user. st.text input or text area, so we'll give a area to enter the text. So please enter the customer review, and we'll give some sort of like column there, and we'll put a default message. If somebody doesn't put anything, they have a placeholder text already there. The service and the product was just amazing, some positiveness there, I loved it. So we'll just put that as a temporary placeholder until somebody puts some different message, so that it's not empty and not throwing any error message. Then the next thing we're gonna do is we'll say if st.button. So we'll say if the st.button analyze sentiment, if user has provided the input, or maybe just if they only click on that analyze sentiment, we have some text, placeholder text, so it will not throw any error. We'll then run the model simply if there is any input. Result equals, we'll say sentiment pipeline, which we have already used here. We have already created the variable by loading the model. Simply we have the sentiment pipeline as our model, and in that model we'll provide the user input, so that the model has the input, and now model can process the user input and create the sentiment for us. Now what we will do is we'll extract the data. Once we have processed the user input, now from the model output, as a result, from the result we'll extract two things here. First thing is going to be extract the result, or basically result, which is going to be sentiment, positive, negative, neutral, and the score. So we're going to say if it is positive, what is the percentage of positive or confidence level? Is that 90% confidence on the positive sentiment or only 20% confidence? We'll extract that information. So we'll say label positive, negative, neutral, whatever that is, the result is. We'll say 0, the very first result. And from there, we'll extract the label. And that's going to be score. So what is the confidence score on positive, negative, or neutral? And from there we'll extract the score from the model. And then if the result is available, then nicely display the results. We'll say st dot success. Whenever it is success, we'll say sentiment is, then we'll give whatever the label we had already created. So let's give some nice formatting, and we'll put the label here, right? Label, this value will be displayed. And the next thing we want to display here is st dot information, and then we'll say confidence score on the above sentiment. Then we'll give the score value, or we'll print the score value that we have just created over here, the same score, and we'll put score, and we'll factor that to be 2 decimal. So we want to say 49.50 or something like that, and that will be helpful for the user to understand the overall performance or overall sentiment. And now if there is no message or no customer sentiment, we'll say st dot warning. Just give some warning. Please enter some text value to analyze the sentiment if there is no value inserted by the user. So that's what is our tab 1, when there is a single, allowing the user to insert a single sentiment text to be analyzed. Now it's going to be tab 2. So second tab is going to be with tab 2, we'll say st dot header, and I will say analyze sentiment for more than one customer sentiment in the CSV file. So that's going to be our header 2. And now we can make it even smaller, because that's going to be long name for the tab itself. I will say analyze the data set in the CSV format. We want to limit the format to be CSV format. There's no formatting issue on Excel, and it processes successfully. Now, next thing is going to be uploaded file equals st.file uploader. So we want to allow the user to upload the file. Upload your CSV file with customer sentiment. That's a placeholder text, so that we are letting the user know that they have to upload the CSV file. I will say type equals, that's a CSV file. I'm going to put CSV here, and that's it. So if the file is uploaded, now once the user uploads the file on that, we'll say if uploaded file is not none, it's actually there is a file, it's not empty, then reading the CSV file, that's going to be df equals pd.read CSV. Remember, we have imported the pandas module, and we'll say uploaded file. That's what the file we are going to read using pandas library. Then we will display just the first few rows there. So I will say st dot, so display first few rows of the file, so that the user knows that what file the user has uploaded. I will say st dot write some text, right, some bold or the bigger text, header style text, preview of your data, and I will put column there, so that's nicely formatted. And I will say st dot data frame, I will say df dot head, and that's it, right? It will display the header or top 5 rows of the data with that code. Now we want to specify that there should be a column called review text. If that's not there, then it will not be able to identify which column has review that it needs to analyze. So I would say check if review text column exists in the data set uploaded. So it will look for that text. And then the user needs to basically have a column called review text. That's what is going to be analyzed. I will say text column equals review text. That's going to be our text column, which we will be processing. And I will say if text column that exists there in df dot columns, doesn't matter how big, how many columns are there in the data, as far as the review text column exists, it will be able to create the sentiment for that review text column. And then here I will say if st dot button. So we want to call if st dot button, there's a button called analyze the entire data set. If that's there, then we'll say st dot write, we'll call analyzing. So basically it will take some few minutes, right, or a couple of seconds to up to a couple of minutes. So I will just print some message there so that the user knows that something is happening. And we'll say this might take a few moment, please be patient. So next thing is going to be applying the model to text column. So we'll apply the model to the text column, right? Text column to analyze the sentiment. And there, what I will do here is I will say a df, I will create a new column that stores the AI sentiment. AI sentiment equals df. I'll put text column here. So that's going to be our review text. So I'll process the text column. In that, I will apply lambda function. That will help us to iterate through row by row and then analyze the sentiment for all the rows that are in the data. So I will call sentiment pipeline that we have created in our function. And I will say str will convert the values in the review text column to be string type or text type, because it will not process probably accurately the numbers or any other format. So we want to make sure that our data is well standardized. And there I will also add the labels. So this function sentiment pipeline will go through each row, will apply that to each row, and then it will on that analyze sentiment, we will pick the label, right? So that's going to be our AI sentiment, positive, negative, or neutral. Then we'll display the result. We'll say st dot display the results. We'll say st dot write, and I will give some nice formatted header, right? Some big text. So 3 hashes will make that in the header 3 format, and we'll say analysis is completed. Right. Once it is completed, this line completes, then it will print the message or write the message into a Streamlit application that says analysis is completed. Next is going to be, I'm going to be converting that information to the data frame. I will say df. In that df, I will include the text column first, right? Because we want to consider the text column to be available there to look the sentiment right next to it. And then I will say AI sentiment. And then here, then I will print the first 10 rows of the data, so that I want to look at the top 10 rows that has a sentiment of the file that I have already uploaded. Okay, so we have that sentiment, and then we will simply show a bar chart that shows the sentiment distribution. So show a simple bar chart to display the sentiment. I will simply say st.write. First of all, let's write some message there. And I will say sentiment distribution. And I will put a sentiment count. So we want to count the sentiment for each of those category, positive, negative, neutral. I will then take the AI sentiment. And for that, I will do value count so that it counts for positive sentiment, negative sentiment, and neutral sentiments. Then I will say st.bar chart. So I will create Streamlit bar chart that will create the bar chart with the sentiment counts. And then we will let the users also download the result if they want to. So we'll give option. So first of all, I will have a CSV file. So I will say df.to CSV. First of all, write down to CSV format, right? CSV format. And I will say index equals false. So I don't want any index column to be there, just how it is. And then I will say encode to be the UTF-8 format. And then I will do st.download button. So I will give the download button, and that will give labels. So first of all, I will just have the button that says download the sentiment data, right? Once it is analyzed and once we have a sentiment, what data to be downloaded? The CSV that we have created right here. And the next thing I want to do is I want to give the file name. Once it is download on that downloaded file, what should be the file name? That should be sentiment analysis file.csv. I want to also have that as a CSV format. Next thing I want to do is I want to say mime that the file would be of the CSV or text type of data. Otherwise, if there is something wrong with the sentiment analysis, I will say else. If something is wrong about that sentiment analysis file, else, then I will say st dot. So our Streamlit app will throw error, st dot error, could not find the column. And the column name that we want to include here is going to be the text column, right? So if we want to make sure that the text column is available, and if it is not there, then we'll say, hey, that column is not found in your CSV file. Please check for the column names, right? So that will simply throw an error message, and that's it. So we have embedded all the functionalities in the Streamlit app from the individual, so tab 1, from one single sentiment that to be analyzed, and also the entire file. So in the entire file, where we are viewing the data first, and then we are analyzing the sentiment for entirety of all the rows in that data set. Then we are viewing into our bar chart how many are the counts of positive, negative, neutral, and we are allowing the users to download the data set. And else, if something goes wrong, then we'll say, hey, there is error, so please check the column name. That's it. Our file is ready. Now the next step is going to be just see how does your sentiment analysis application look like. So let's check it out. Let's run the file and check it out. Just to recap, what we have done here is we began with importing all necessary libraries and modules. Once the virtual environment is created, activated, and all the necessary modules are imported or installed, then we have given the name or page title with the wide layout, and then we have given the app title and some welcome message. Then we have created the st.cache resource to store the cache for the model's performance. Then we define the function to load the model, and then we have the spinner message says that model is loading. We created two tabs. That is, one is for the single text, one is for the entire data set, entire file. Then first tab configuration here, so that says analyze single review, and then we have the placeholder text if the user has not uploaded anything. And then we have a button here called analyze sentiment. When the user clicks on that, it will run the sentiment analysis, and we'll call the model, and then we'll have the label and score, and then we'll print that label and score to the user. Otherwise it will throw error. On the second tab, we will give option to upload the larger size of data. So we'll say analyze the data set in CSV, that header, and then here we will be giving the file uploader placeholder to upload the file, the button to upload the file. So we'll say if the file is not empty, then load the file and preview the top 5 rows of the data, and catch the review text column to analyze the review and create the sentiment. And if the text column exists in the columns, datasets column, then we'll say analyze entire data. So we'll have that option, the button to analyze the dataset, entire dataset, and create the sentiment. And we'll give some message displaying that, hey, something is happening there. And then here we have, we are writing a Lambda function that goes through entire rows and analyzes, does the sentiment analysis on that sentiment pipeline. Then we'll once that is completed, we'll print the message saying that analysis is completed, and we'll display the data frame's top 10 rows that contains text column and the sentiment. Only that. A file may contain hundreds of columns. I'm not interested with that. I'm only interested on review text and the sentiment. Then we will just display some bar graph that gives the count of each sentiment. Then we will give option to download the file, CSV file, with that sentiment being included on that. Otherwise, that throws error. That's all is the walkthrough on that application what we have just created. Now, what next thing is we're gonna do here is go to bottom on your terminal. In that terminal, making sure that your virtual environment is created or virtual environment is activated. In the terminal, I will say Streamlit run sentiment analysis.py. I will hit enter, and there will be a new browser tab open for you. And that is the beautiful Streamlit application that says AI sentiment application. And it has a welcome message text here that just welcomes you on the application. And here there are two tabs. If you remember, we have created one tab called Analyze the Text, and one tab is Analyze the CSV dataset. Let's begin with Analyze Text. Here we had a placeholder text. And if I just run the sentiment, Analyze Sentiment here, on that placeholder text, it will process the positive sentiment here. It will go through the text, it will run the model, and it will give the sentiment, that is positive sentiment, and it will give the confidence score on the above sentiment, which is 98%. The model is 98% confident that this is a positive sentiment. How about I hate the service and the product both? So I will just add a lot of exclamation mark that gives a lot of emphasis on that text. I'll click on that, and then here we got the negative sentiment with 98% confidence. How about just conflicting message? I hate the service and product both, but the people working there are really, really nice. Let's see what the model is going to do with that. So click on Analyze Sentiment. Here's a negative sentiment with 78% confidence, because this is negative sentiment, but people working there are really nice. That's why the confidence on the negative went down to from 98% to 78%. This is how it exactly works. And now we looked at the couple of things, and then now we can check the neutral sentiment if there is any. I will say, I do not know what to say. I am totally confused. Right? Confused. And let's click on that. Let's see what happens. It's still negative, 67%. And I don't know what to say. Let's take the different text and see what happens. Neutral with 56% confidence. I do not know what to say. So person is totally neutral, neither positive or negative. Look at that, how beautiful the application is. Now let's upload a file. I have downloaded the dataset from Kaggle, and I have included the link in the description for the dataset. And you can click on that browse file, go to your folder, and click wherever you have stored the file, and click open. And here we go. So if you remember, we had the data df.head that displayed the top 5 rows in the data, and make sure that there is a review text column over here. The review text column is available here, and you can now easily run our sentiment analysis on the file. Okay, so I will click on Analyze Entire Dataset. It will take a couple of moments. That says analyzing. This might take a moment. Please be patient. Once it completes, then it will give us the results. Now this has completed, and look at that. Analysis is completed. So we have review text, as we only included the review text and the AI sentiment. That includes the review text, very disappointing with the quality, that's a negative, and fast delivery and great packaging, positive. Very disappointed with the quality, negative, and bunch of those like negative, and there's a neutral as well here. Look at that. Neutral, product is okay. So we have the neutral sentiment. I'll put that over here, and I will say product is okay, nothing special. That's a neutral. That doesn't say really positivity or negativity. And look at that here. So we have barely few neutral, but most of those are positive. 9,000 negative, 9,937 to be the negative sentiments. And we have positive sentiment, 14,030 positive sentiment. And this neutral is almost invisible because there might be just a few neutral, and we can look at that in the data set, but most of those are positive or negative. Now we had option, we had a button to download the sentiment data. If I click on that, the file will be downloaded, whatever you want to download the file, and save it. And that's it, file is downloaded, and you can open that downloaded file and you can do the broader analysis of that file. Look at that here. Now you have your data set which contains the AI sentiment here, and you have original sentiment. You can always compare AI sentiment with original sentiment and see how the model has performed. But this is out of the scope of this video. However, I have created other videos in my channel which does evaluate the large language models performance in detail. Please do not forget to check. And this is all on this video. Thank you for watching until the last. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Also, if you have not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe and hit that notification button so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get instant notification and you do not miss any exciting and important topics that I'm going to upload in the videos. And thank you for watching.